Come with me as we watch the movie where Glenn Close says nappy pussy.
Can smell your nappy pussy.
Lee Daniels went from making the Precious movie to a movie about Billie Holiday to this. The following is inspired by true events. In 2011 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, single mom Ebony moves with her children Nate, Shante, and Andre to a new house. Separated from her husband who is in Iraq, Ebony allows her mom, Alberta, who has cancer, to move in with them on the condition that she doesn't mess with how she runs her house. After attending church, they all have dinner, but Alberta criticizes Ebony's cooking, saying it got too much garlic. Andre calls his mom a cheap ass because he can't have milk, so Ebony slaps him so hard he starts to bleed. After dinner, Shante texts her dad and says mama going crazy again because she drank it. Shante notices a stank-ass smell and blames it on her brother's farts. Ebony notices flies that seem to come from the basement. Andre later wakes up in the middle of the night and in a trance, he goes to wastefully and mindlessly drink milk from the fridge, spilling milk all over the floor. That's how I am getting a late-night snack too. He then goes out of the house and sees a dying bird on the lawn. One day as Nate, Shante, and Andre walk home from school, one of Nate's bullies throws something at his head. Although he's hurt, Nate chooses to ignore them. When they get home, Ebony confronts him about the bottle of alcohol and a bundle of cash she found in his closet, to which Nate says that he's hiding them from her as alcohol makes her violent. And your son gagged you with that one. Noticing the blood on Nate's uniform, she goes to confront Nate's bullies. Miss Akila and the bee is afraid over here. Shante fears this can get Ebony arrested again. Ebony just goes up to this kid and kicks him in the balls. When Ebony returns, she calls out Alberta for acting all brand new, all just because she goes to church, and advising her on how to handle her kids whilst Alberta hasn't been a good mother to her. Ebony later sees Andre sitting on the swing on their lawn, who seems to be having a conversation with someone, but no one else is there. She doesn't think much of it and simply tells him to stop talking to himself. She then gets more annoyed after seeing more flies near the basement door. That night, the girls do each other's hair, reciting the lines from a movie. Ebony breaks the news to Shante about postponing her birthday party. However, she ain't having none of it and says she's tired of being a broke-ass family. Alberta heads to the hospital for her chemo. She flirts with Mr. Chubby Man over here, showing off her cleavage and shit. He flirts back, and the black women say, look at her, doing way too much with her tits out. The nurse tells her to cash him outside and they'll exchange numbers. Boy, Glenn Close is twice your senior. After getting informed that her bills for the last 2 months haven't been paid yet, she learns that the hospital has stopped accepting Medicaid over a year ago, and that Ebony has been paying her bills so that she doesn't have to switch clinics because she knows that she likes it there. Later that night, Alberta tells Ebony that she knows she's been paying her hospital bills, prompting Ebony to awkwardly tell Alberta that she doesn't have to say anything. In the middle of the night, Ebony wakes up to same random man in her house. However, it could have just be a delusion, as she can't find anyone other than the stank basement. Nate asks Ebony where his money is, prompting Ebony to ask where he got the money, threatening to break his skinny ass with a bat if she catches him selling drugs. Nate reveals that their dad has been sending him money since he told him that he wants to be away from Ebony. Ebony and Nate fight, and when Andre sees them, he runs towards them to stop them, but he accidentally falls and gets hurt. Later, Ebony asks Nate not to leave her, telling him that she's trying to be a good mother to them. The next day, Ebony hires an exterminator to check the basement and learns that there's a dead cat in there. Shortly after, Ebony's DCS officer, Cynthia Henry, arrives and asks about her move to the new house and criticizes her children's attendance and performance in school. Cynthia notices bruises on Shantae's arm and suspects that Ebony harmed her, but Shante tells her that she doesn't know where she got them because they were already there when she woke up. Miss Precious's mom about to really give it to Ebony now. She also asks Andre why he seems in pain, but Andre also doesn't have a sure answer. When she asks the kids to leave her and Ebony alone to talk, Cynthia gives Shante her card, telling her that she can call her anytime. Ebony's weave gets a bit itchy during this. Sensing Cynthia's suspicion, Ebony clarifies that she didn't hurt her kids, prompting Cynthia to clarify that her priority is the welfare of her children. Cynthia asks about her drinking while going through the house and checking the medicine she has. She reminds Ebony that she can maintain the custody of her children if she monitors the situation, and tells her to give her children stability and show them that she's prioritizing their welfare. Cynthia code switches to her hood side when Alberta comes down the stairs and tells her to shut up. Then she reminds Ebony she ain't playing. She then calls Glenn Close cockeyed before leaving. For some reason, I feel like that wasn't in the script and Monique just ad-libbed that. As she leaves, an unknown woman is spying on all of them. On Shantae's birthday celebration, Ebony finds Andre, who's in a catatonic state in the basement, banging his head on the door. When asked why he's in the basement, Andre says that he was talking to Trey, who exists in a hole in the basement and sometimes lives in his closet. Is Trey gay? She settles him in bed and goes back to the party. As the party dies down, Asia and Ebony get into a kerfuffle because Ebony still wants a drink. Ebony calls her a sissy bitch, and Asia calls her a stank pussy ass. Then Ebony finds Andre standing in the living room, and when she tells him to go to bed, he tells her that he's scared. Later, Ebony awakens from loud bangings in the house, which makes her angry, and goes to check it out. Soon, Alberta hears screams from the children's room, and upon checking, she finds Ebony weeping in the messy room, and the three children are holding each other, frozen in fear. When asked, Shantae tells Alberta that she woke up to Ebony yelling, and Andre tells her that Ebony yeeted them against the wall. The next day, Ebony sees the wall in their house, which they painted a mural on, destroyed. Meanwhile, at school, Nate laughs while the teacher discusses about 44% of AIDS deaths are black people. Andre poos in his classroom and throws his feces at his teacher and classmates and eats some of it too. And Shantae has her period during choir practice. Y'all, that went from 0 to 100 real quick. Because of this, the children undergo tests such as MRI, ultrasound, blood work, chest x-ray, and psychological evaluations, but nothing out of the ordinary is found. Ebony, annoyed with the results as it's clear that something is wrong, demands more tests, prompting the doctor to ask about the kids having psychological stress and bring up their bruises. Black women are never believed in these situations, but let's continue. When they leave, Alberta asks Ebony about what happened the night before, and convinced that she is beating her children, threatens to turn her in if she hurts them again. Ebony says Alberta is just like any white bitch around here, down to fuck with black men, but when it's down to protect them, she's never had her back. Later that night, Ebony helps Andre bathe and goes down to answer the bill collectors who are calling her. Seeing her stressed out, Alberta, who's hanging a cross on their wall, tells her that the Lord can save her, prompting an annoyed Ebony to ask the Lord to remove the cancer from her body. When Ebony returns to the bathroom, she finds Nate choking Andre in the bathtub to drown him. Horrified, Ebony screams for Alberta while she pulls Nate away from Andre with all her might, and Nate, who snaps out of his trance, cries while hugging Alberta. It seems Nate has found the upside down again. Cynthia visits the family again and tells Ebony that she can't keep the kids out of school. A scared Ebony tells her that something evil is happening in the house and it's affecting the kids. But Cynthia tells her that the doctor who checked on the kids thinks that they are behaving how they are behaving because they believe that that's what she wants them to do. A shaken Ebony tearfully confides to Cynthia that she heard Andre in his closet speaking a language she has never heard before, and that the boy he's talking to told him to take his own life. But Cynthia doesn't believe her. Frustrated, Ebony tells Cynthia that she is unsympathetic because she doesn't have a child, prompting Cynthia to share that her 7-year-old son died after a car hit him, which is why it angers her seeing moms like her taking her children for granted. Alberta gets hood carrying a bat, forcing Cynthia to leave, and Ebony maintains that she doesn't beat her children. Cynthia exclaims, "Your mother is a hoe." Alberta then approaches the unknown woman watching them and gets her to leave as well. Since the children don't remember anything after snapping out of their trance, Alberta shares their situation with her church's pastor, believing that there's something evil in their home. However, the pastor tells her to try asking for another church's help since she hasn't heard anything like it before, and they don't deal with such things there. A woman named Bernice James, who's been following and observing Ebony and her family, finally introduces herself to Ebony and tells her that her children are sick because there's an evil spirit in their house. She tells her that she is an apostle, prophet, and evangelist who goes where God sends her, and that she was observing them as she needed to confirm her suspicion first before she intervenes. She shows Ebony a photo of a family, Amon, his wife Janelle, and their son and daughter, who lived in Ebony's house 20 years ago and was in the same church as her. When their son started acting strange, all the doctors who checked on him couldn't find anything wrong with him, so they asked for her help. To cast the demon out of the boy, she performed the Deliverance, but the demon was so strong that she failed to save the boy. Soon, Janelle killed Amon and their daughter, and she screamed in horror when she snapped out of her trance. Meanwhile, at home, Alberta is attacked by some shadowy figure. When the woman says that the boy's name is Trey, Ebony tells her that the name of Andre's imaginary friend is Trey. The woman then warns her that the demon is targeting Andre, prompting Ebony to get angry and leave as it sounds crazy, and tells her to stop following her. When Ebony gets home, she finds Alberta dead on the floor. Acting innocent, Andre cries and asks what happened to Alberta. The police close off the house but allow Cynthia to check inside and take photos. As Ebony drives away with her family, Shantae admits to calling Cynthia, which angers Ebony since it might cause her to be separated from her children. Andre starts banging his head on the car seat and tells Ebony that it's her fault that Alberta is dead. Ebony sees Andre's eyes go fully black in the rearview mirror, and she gets so scared that they almost crash into a truck. Ebony parks at a diner and runs inside to ask for help, but she ends up losing her children to a church foster care as she's believed to have lost her mind due to substance and alcohol abuse. Left with no choice, Ebony asks for Bernice's help, while Cynthia and the hospital medical staff deal with a possessed Andre. Despite her hatred for Jesus because of her traumatic childhood, it is assumed that one of Alberta's boyfriends took advantage of Ebony when she was young. Ebony prays to Jesus for forgiveness and strength. Cynthia goes to Andre, who reveals that her dead son likes to watch her sleep. He laughs maniacally before jumping out of the straps like a madman. Meanwhile, Precious's mom just too stunned to speak. Ebony takes Andre from the hospital and Bernice performs a deliverance on him. She splashes some craft beer on Andre, but he writhes in pain since they don't like craft beer. Eventually, Andre turns into Alberta, sniffs the air and claims she can smell Bernice's nappy pussy.
I can smell your nappy pussy.
She turns to Ebony, calling her half-breed, and admits she should have flushed her down the toilet when she was just a wee blood clot. Bernice continues the deliverance. Meanwhile, Nate and Shantae also experience horrifying possessions, causing them to gain supernatural injuries. Alberta gets feral and starts begging her head and laughing hysterically on the floor. It turns back into Andre and disappears. Eventually, he chokes her and pulls her real hair. Bernice eventually succumbs to her injuries. The demon transforms to Andre and Ebony while fighting Ebony. It twists her body so easily, breaking her bones. She does so really flexible shit. On the brink of death, Ebony calls Jesus, accepting him fully in her heart as her savior, and she regains her strength. Ebony gets on her knees and starts speaking in tongues. This causes the demon to combust and she successfully defeats the demon, saving all of her kids from Vecna. After the tragedy, Ebony packs up as she plans on returning to Philadelphia and getting a new house for herself and her family. Cynthia visits her and tells her that her children don't remember a thing about what happened. Although it's going to be hard to regain full custody of her children, Cynthia promises to help her. 6 months later, juvenile court grants a petition from the Department of Children's Services, and Ebony finally regains custody of her children. As she drives to Philadelphia with her children, Ebony informs them that she's been in touch with their dad, and they will try to work things out. This story was inspired by LaToya Ammon's story. Their house was eventually bulldozed in 2016. What did y'all think of this one and its message? Do you believe in God? Or did you just enjoy the horror aspects of it?
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.